Yes, there's always a recording. All right. Thank you so much, Corrado, and thank you so much, Ula. Glad to have all of you. It's a good showing. Let me see how many people do we have, and people are still coming in, and they will probably continue to do so. Around 30 people. So I'm TK. People call me TK. I'm Tomasz Kropiewnicki. I'm a co-founder of Humble Associates, and today we're going to talk about agile leadership and how it can grow or poison agility in your organization. Well, that should be something quite interesting. But before we do so, I'd like you to have a bit of a warm-up, which is have a bit of a discussion amongst yourselves in breakout rooms. And the question I'll give you, and I'll give you like a couple of minutes, maybe 3 minutes for that, is what is an agile culture? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create breakout rooms now, and I'll close them after 3 minutes. Okay, allow participants, choose breakout rooms, automatically move. So yes, I'll open them up for 3 minutes, and the question I want you to discuss in your triads or quads is, what is an agile culture? And with that, see you in 3 minutes. And we're left, Corrado. So what do you think is an agile culture?
Well, that's a very strange question, I would say. Agile culture. Do we think that agile is a culture? Is the first question, or is something else? Because normally, we have the definition that agile is a mindset, actually, not a culture.
But if when you think about culture in an organization, there's a certain culture that you would consider agile or compatible or growing agility. And I was wondering, what do you think it might be? How can you tell? Like, for instance, you're in a place, you're an employee or a contractor, and how can you tell that this can sustain agility?
So you are using agile not as a noun, but as an objective of the organizational culture. Correct?
Well, it doesn't have to be an objective, Corrado, but agile is a philosophy of work, and we'll talk more about it throughout the workshop. But not every organizational culture can actually sustain it. So a lot of people talk about an agile culture, right? Okay, this organization's culture is agile, and this definitely isn't. So I always ask, well, all right, if that's the case, how can you tell? How do you know that your organization has a more or less agile culture, if it's the spectrum? Or you could say, oh, this organization would never be able to sustain agility. And I say, well, how can you tell? What are the signs you would be looking for? So that's an interesting question there, right?
Yeah, that's why I think it's really tricky question, because I would turn your question to, how can we say that an organizational culture can be more or less agile? Is this the same?
Well, I guess, it's as you say, a culture itself, can it be agile? A lot of people say a thing like that the culture is agile, but I don't think necessarily it has to be the case. Well, let's think about it, right? Can you say that the culture is productive? Can you say that the culture is high performance? I guess it's a shorthand for describing that it's a culture supporting these behaviors. And if we think that agile is a set of mindsets and behaviors, practices, and the whole onion, well, saying that you have an agile culture means you have a culture that supports agility, either to be implemented or grown. So that's what I think, right? What is an agile culture? Is, if you understand agility in a certain way, it's an organizational culture that can actually sustain it. Not something we usually see that often, right? People don't really use this word to describe culture.
I agree. If this is the vision, I completely agree, because again, I can see the agile not as an attribute of the culture, but as a topic of where we apply in the culture. I think makes sense. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's quite interesting to see that. And obviously, agile is rarely the goal. It's like you're going to a coach not to get coached. You're going to achieve a certain result. So a lot of people may miss the point, and a lot of people are dogmatic. And we sometimes see it with our clients that at first they are introduced to what we do for agility, but when we work with them and ask the right questions, more things emerge. So that's quite an interesting point of view. And in 3 seconds, we should have everyone back. So the breakout rooms are closed, and so glad to see all the familiar faces. I'm hoping that you're energized for a quick discussion. So now we're going to do a bit more work. Now, I've noticed that when I'm facilitating a workshop, it's important to introduce a tool to start with, so you can actually move things around. So on the chat, I've given you a link to the most wonderful tool that I absolutely love, called Miro. And I would be glad if you could make your way there. We will not be sharing a screen today, so we'll be using Miro throughout. Okay, let me disable the cursors. There you go. All right, as you're making your way there, you should be able to see a frame called Follow Me. That basically is a metaphor for today's workshop. I will not be sharing the screen, so you will not be looking through my eyes that much. However, I will be your tour guide. And at any point, if you're in a museum or a gallery, you remember these things existed before COVID, hopefully they will exist again, and people will flock there. What you did is, you've watched the paintings or the sculptures by yourself, but there is a tour guide, and if you want to follow them, you just find the person with the flag. To do this over here is quite simple. You just click my picture in the top left or top right corner. There's like a small icon that resembles me. If you click on it, you will have my point of view and you will be able to see what I see. So if at any point in this workshop you get lost, just click there. I'll sometimes pull you to me so I can manage your attention, but you can roam freely around and see things yourself, but it's probably best to look where I'm looking. There's another important thing about Miro is there's probably a lot of cursors flying around. Some find it great to see that. Others find it distracting. If you find it distracting and obstructing your view, just click the disable cursors icon as highlighted over here. If you click it once, it will disable all the cursors, then you should only see yours. And the final tip about Miro is if you want to place a sticky, you just press the N key and an icon of a sticky appears, and it will let you place a sticky. Now we're going to test it. So I will move you to a special place that may remind you of your childhood, which is called a sandbox. I've prepared a special sandbox for you. And what I would like you to do is I will give you a timer of 2 minutes. And I would like you to place a post-it there on the sandbox, maybe with your name, maybe with how you feel. And as you place a post-it there, maybe, you would like to change a color, maybe a size, maybe a font. Play around in the sandbox so you can learn how Miro works and how post-it work. And you should be able to see the timer at the bottom of the screen. So you're also learning to keep the time because every activity should be timed. At least I hope it will be. And you're also adding to the collective sandbox that I will reuse for the next workshop. We're creating like a global culture of Miro. One minute remaining. Maybe you want to, look at someone else's post-it. Hello world. Oh, yes. Perfect. Oh, a lot of great emojis happening. Some of you seem to be quite experienced in using Miro. You're mirologists. Well, I guess it's 2022 and we're used to using tools like that. Whenever I introduce it to a new client, they always find it amazing. You can do so much. And nowadays, I'm not using any physical post-its myself. I'm just using Miro for my own things. But it's just important to warm up and practice. So you've got 20 seconds to play around in the sandbox. Ooh, googly eyes. You can also experiment with the zoom feature. If you're using a mouse, you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Some of the post-its are quite small, some are quite big. And you can use, if you're using a mouse, you can use your right mouse button to move around the board without moving anything. All right, the time is up. Hopefully you had the chance to practice a bit. So let's go and we had a discussion about Agile culture. What we're going to talk about right now is we're going to talk about the definition of culture and how a leadership culture can support agility. So I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I haven't invented it by myself, and I'm basing it on the work of Karen Honey, Robert Keegan, and Bob Anderson. Bob Anderson, the last one, actually, Robert Keegan evolved the work of Helen Honey, and Bob Anderson the work of Robert Keegan. And Bob Anderson invented a thing called the Leadership Circle. It's like quite an amazing leadership development tool that we're using quite a bit in Humble Associates to help our organizations. And today, I'm going to give you a very quick crash course on the most important concepts in the Leadership Circle. So the Leadership Circle has 3 kinds of leaders. And I'm going to quickly describe the sorts of leaders that you can find in this method. The first is the leader of the heart. So a leader of the heart is someone that really focuses on relationship. A heart type leader is someone that really likes to be liked, that wants to belong, and it's a leader that really tries to harmonize the relationships within the organization. We can see a lot of these kinds of leaders. They can be very skillful and productive, but they can also be reactive and not that skillful, but we'll talk about it next. There's the second type of a leader, which is a leader of the mind. A mind type leader identifies themselves with their ideas. So they're very cerebral, and for a mind type leader, their identity is tied to their ideas, solution. They like to deal with complexity. Sometimes they may not be people, but they're definitely people that like to think, plan, strategize, and solve problems. They can also be great leaders, but they can also fail at leading in this way. All of these types can be very productive, can support agility, or maybe not necessarily. It depends on a second component. Now, the third type is a leader of will. A will type leader is someone that's really focused on results. A will type leader will look at the data. They will look at what they can achieve. They want to be in control. They want to inspire others. And it's like this big man leader persona. It can be very positive. These kinds of leaders get promoted quite a lot, but I know that all of you have seen the negative side of these leaders being maybe over-controlling, overbearing, and so on. So again, just to give you a quick highlight, we've got 3 types of leaders. The leader of the heart, so the leader of the relationships, the leader of the mind, so the leader of the ideas, and the leader of the will, which is the leader of results. Now, what I would like you to do, and we will play in breakouts again, is I would like you to think about the positive and negative aspects of all these leadership styles. So I will put this here, and I will make new breakout rooms for you. Okay, recreate. And what will happen is I will give you 3 minutes again. Let's see, in groups of 3s and 4s. Okay, and I would like you to discuss the following question. Yep, everything's fine. Again, what are the positive and negative aspects of each leadership style that you have seen? And you can refer to the previous slides. So I'll open the rooms for 3 minutes and I'll see you back in 3. All right, Corrado, it's us again. So what do you think are the positive and negative aspects of each of these leadership styles?
That's really, really interesting question, because just to share, this is my Christmas reading.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, Mr. Mackay.
Yeah. Okay, I think that heart is very positive. The most positive aspect of heart is the empathy. And the most negative aspect of art is the, let me say, sometimes too much engagement in the stuff. So they are, let me say, emotionally involved. Something about mind that is exactly the same, the opposite, sorry, not the same. Sometimes mind is absolutely no empathic because they are very rational. Sometimes they are too rational again, and sometimes this is not the right approach. About will, that is probably the most common model of leadership. I would say that the negative is that this approach normally is not really focused on make people growing. And the positive approach is that sometimes there are people that actually love to delegate the, let me say, the responsibility. And so for this kind of people, a leader like the will leader is, let me say, more comfortable because actually they just have to act and not to think.
It's interesting. So for instance, for me, like the hard type leader, there can be a lot of pleasers. So people that will try to belong and sacrifice everything to be liked, which is negative. But a hard type leader can be incredibly great to make sure that all the relationships are being managed. And we're all human, right? And we all live of relationships. A will type leader can be also quite amazing because, you know, people need inspiration and they need to know that they have a purpose in their work. Like Steve Jobs makes a thing in the world, but obviously they can be very negative, as you said, over controlling, overbearing. They maybe not be able to stop themselves, and that's a bit of a challenge. And when it comes to the mind leader, you're right. They can be aloof, they can be very distant, sometimes arrogant. But also a mind type leader is someone that can also have the self-awareness. Someone that can say, okay, you know, I've made a mistake and so on, and that's what happened. And it's also a problem-solving person, which I think is quite great to see. So a mind type leader is, well, I'm a mind type leader, and even though the person is a bit cold, it still can be a rational approach. And sometimes it's important to be rational, isn't it? So yeah, everything has two sides of the coin.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact, as you highlight that the mind people normally is very problem focused. Agree, that's true. And sometimes instead, the heart people are very people focused instead of problem focused. That's true. I don't think, however, that just the will is a leadership model based on the goal that we want to achieve, because I think that actually every kind of leaders may have a goal. So that's it. I mean, as a leader, I expect that they have some goals, at least. Okay.
Yes, indeed. And we have everyone back. So welcome back. And by the way, the people that haven't been to Miro before, I'm just going to repeat the same link for the new joiners. So if you are on Miro, don't go there. But if you haven't been on Miro, go ahead and go to this link. This is where you'll see the content of the workshop. So hopefully you had some great discussions and you've managed to interact with it. Now, as I described the freestyles, and I'll pull you to myself, I'm going to ask you, you probably reflected on, you know, you're probably closer to one style more than the others. So I'm going to give a quick exercise, and this is quite interesting because I'll introduce some movement. So if it's safe to do so, please do stand up like this, and I will ask you to make a gesture. Now, if you yourself believe that you are a leader that is a hard type, give me a hard gesture. If you're a leader that believes you're a will type, give me this kind of gesture. But if you're a mind type leader, do this. So I will go 3, 2, 1, and we will quickly do a gesture, and Corrado will snap a photo. Corrado, will you snap a photo for us, or maybe Ula?
Just 1 second. Yes.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second.
You have
Corrado,
to
are you
turn on the
ready?
camera. You have to turn on the camera.
Oh, yes, you have to turn on the camera. Otherwise, we won't be able to see you. So come on, turn the camera, stand up, do a gesture for me. I will go 3, 2, 1. Gesture, 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 gesture. Oh, there's a lot of mind leaders, some heart leaders. Oh, hold it, hold it. Hold the photo.
Done.
Done. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. There's nothing like a gesture. And if you're following the training from the back of the room, standing up and gestures trump sitting down. So there you go. All right. So now we understand the styles as much as we can. It's great, but we'll talk about another side of the leadership circle, which is there's 3 kinds of styles, and they can be very supportive, but also they can also be quite negative. So if you're leading from the supportive side, it's called a creative style of leadership, which is you're taking responsibility for your life, and you are a leader that creates their situation. You're not afraid, you're acting with courage, you're acting with purpose, you're doing it creatively. You're being able not only to create content, but to create the situation you're in. However, there's a shadow side of the moon. You can have a situation where you're actually encountering life and you're just reacting to it. This is the reactive style. It is where you're afraid, where you feel like you don't have the agency in life, where you are acting just to protect yourself, and it's called reactive. So as an example, a creative heart leader is someone that focuses on emotion and relationships to grow people. But a reactive heart type leader is a person that's a people pleaser, a person that's a conformist, that will do everything just to belong, and maybe it's a yes man or a woman that will just say yes because they hate conflict. This is a reactive heart leader. So all these 3 styles are very valid. These people can be great leaders and they can grow agility. But the problem is if they're doing it in a reactive kind of way, which is sometimes we do things in the reactive kind of way because we're stressed, we're under pressure, and that's okay. These behaviors are there to protect us. We just need to learn how to use the gifts of these protections and try to be more creative. With that being said, if you combine the 3 dimensions, and if you actually put them in sort of a thing, in an image, you will get a circle. So the top thingy is the creative side. The bottom is the reactive. The left is the heart domain. The right is the will domain. And the middle is the domain of the mind. And that's the simplest version of the leadership circle I know. Having said that, there's much more to talk about. So I'll move us on, and we'll do another breakout. All kinds of breakouts today. Hopefully you like working. So I'll give you a demonstration of what we'll be trying to do. Now, the leadership circle as a model has 8 dimensions. And there's much more, but I'm just giving you a bit to start with. So there's dimensions of achieving, protecting, controlling, authenticity, complying, relating, self-awareness, and systems awareness. And you can see them around the circle. And next to these, there's small post-its with the same words. Now, nothing moves except these post-its. I will now put you into a couple breakout rooms. And what I would like you to do is, first of all, you will have to find your space. So every frame has a room number. There will be 4 breakout rooms. So first locate the space you're in. And I will give you 7 minutes. And in 7 minutes, what I would like you to do is, in a group, discuss all these things and grab the post-its and move them to the right, to the appropriate area of the circle. So if you think that achieving is creative heart domain, place it here. Or maybe it's a reactive mind domain, place it here. So just have a discussion and do this. So first, what will happen is I will put you in 4 breakout rooms. You will have a 4-minute countdown. And okay, as always, I have to recreate the breakout rooms. So I hate talking and doing it at the same time. This time you'll have a bit more time. Try not to use too much time to introduce yourself. So assume that everyone's your friend. We're all a great Agile community. So you don't need to introduce yourselves, just say hi and get on with the discussion. So I will open the breakout rooms. I'll give you 7 minutes. First of all, when you go into your breakout room, you will have the room number. So do remember to work on your particular frame. And by the way, frames 1 and 2, or rooms 1 and 2 are on the left, and rooms 3 and 4 are on the right. So with that being said, I will see you in 7 minutes. All right, Corrado, you're not here. Well, hopefully you'll be back and we'll be able to talk a bit.
Yes, I am.
You're here. Yes, Corrado. So, what do you think about the circle, and what should go where?
That's
tricky
okay.
question, isn't
Let me
it?
say let me say this. I think that this exercise, when you are with yourself, is not really interesting, because maybe you have an idea that is wrong and no one is challenging you. So this is a typical great exercise, let me say, as a group, as a team, maybe. And I would say also that this exercise can scale with large number of people, actually.
You mean the exercise with the gesture, Corrado?
No, the one working with the circle, the wheel.
Oh yes, but it's not. It's just trying to learn the circle. It's not trying to diagnose or see who's what, right? We're not saying you're this or that. We're just trying to put things on the circle.
Okay.
So in this case, yeah, absolutely, we do an exercise for teams to see what's the team profile. But this is like the crux of the tool, and how the tool works is it has a complex survey. So people in the team do it, and they can see where they are. But we're not doing it here. We're just trying to understand the model, because it's useful on its own, I think. So what do you think about this model and this way of thinking about culture and leadership?
I like the idea. It's very simple. It's very simple. Cannot say if maybe it's too simple. That's my, but I really would like to have this in place. For example, now we are following the activities in room 2.
Yes.
For example, and you can see that they are, let me say, agreed. They are agreeing on something. For example, positioning a couple of sticky notes. And let's have the same exercise in room 1. For example, you can see that achieving is in a different place than no, they moved just now. Interesting.
They moved. Yeah, maybe they're looking at the other group too.
They are cheating.
But hopefully they aren't. I'm not accusing anyone of cheating. They're just using the wisdom of the crowds. So, Corrado, not every time you look at the other person is cheating. I think they're doing the right thing, but no one has the right answers, right? Even though these are the definitions, and I'll show the right answers after. It's quite interesting to see and how difficult the exercise is. I think we know inherently how leadership and culture works, but the challenge is when you really think about it and you try to think about these abstract terms like complying or controlling, they're not always easy to pinpoint into the right location. And not to mention, if you're working in a room of 6 people, it's not always easy to make a decision, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Absolutely. I can make a very easy example. For example, protecting, in my humble opinion, let me use this word, is very close to heart more than to brain and to will. Is it always true?
And what do you think? Okay, yeah.
Maybe
so
not.
when you say protecting, are you using the same definition?
Yeah, is the belief that.
So have a look, because there's a definition of it. Yes.
Protecting himself.
So you're aloof, cynical, superior, or rational. See, because the normal understanding of protecting is you're trying to protect someone or something. But in this case, you're trying to protect yourself
Yeah, that's
by
true.
going into a stance of
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In fact, I would change it. In fact, because
So
I
what would you
saw the
change it
different.
to?
Yeah. Sure, sure, sure. Probably, I would say that the will is more protecting than the other.
There you go, right? So this is an interesting thing. When you try to explore it, it's not so obvious. And we're doing this, not to find the right answer necessarily. We're trying to do this so people can actually fully understand and appreciate the model. So when they're exploring all the concepts and reading the definitions and having a discussion, it's much easier to learn than just me playing a PowerPoint slide, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So this is how we're trying to do things in Humble Associates. We're using training from the back of the room, and I'm motivated by my wonderful business partners to do as little lecturing as I can.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think nowadays, I to be honest, I'm looking at so many people doing webinars and just playing a PowerPoint deck, and I can't keep attention anymore. I need to be engaged because I love remote work, but we have to look at things differently. It's no longer enough just to play a deck. We have to keep people engaged in these kinds of workshop. And I think it's also, a style of culture that extends to other kinds of work. So as a leader in an organization that's remote or hybrid heavy, I need to keep people engaged, and I need to help them engage in work which isn't just me telling them what to do, which was never the case, but now it's even more. I need to build, a culture and a system that lets them explore topics just like this. So let's see. Right, in 30 seconds, people are actually in a minute, in a bit. So let's see, Corrado, how people managed. Let's see who
Yeah,
managed to
sure.
complete. So I can see room 1 managed to complete most of it, and they'll probably end in a discussion. It's interesting. They've assigned all the post-its. Room 2, did they too? Yeah, I think systems awareness is in the middle. That's quite interesting indeed. We've got room 3 with, not necessarily being able to finish up. They may have been a bit out of time, so that's an interesting group. And we've got room 4, where people, have also completed, and they've placed a lot in the authenticity being reactive. Oh, that's very interesting. I'm 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 quite surprised how people learn it and make their answers. Hey, Shade.
And made different answers actually. That's interesting.
Yes, that's the most amazing part of it, because you don't have to have the right answer to learn, and this is
Absolutely.
why I love it absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually there is not a right answer, I would say. Every answer
Well,
is
there is a model answer, but all models are wrong. Some are useful. And you're right, Corrado. There isn't the right answer, right? So in effect, for me, and sometimes people hold it against me, it's all about the question rather than the answer. It's all about the process of you trying to get to an answer than the answer itself. And with that being said, welcome back, everyone. I'm hoping that you had a wonderful chat in your small rooms. Don't worry, you'll be back into the same rooms again. So hopefully you got acquainted. And thanks for your wonderful answers. Now, we won't go through each one of them. You had the discussion. However, what I will do is I will show you what is the model's base scenario. So what does the model think all these things are? And here it is. So it's quite interesting. A lot of people get it slightly wrong, but just have a look and just think where you went right, where you had the biggest arguments and back and forths, and where you went wrong. That's the leadership circle model. And interestingly, I think a lot of people get protecting wrong. We just had a discussion with Corrado about what protecting is, and it isn't protecting other people from something. It's protecting yourself by being distant, aloof, arrogant, cynical. I'm just building up a shield, a monolith that keeps me away from relationships and people going into this kind of behavior. And and complying, it's over here in the reactive side. So you're doing your best to comply with something just to keep your relationships going or be liked. Whereas actually the very positive thing is relating and self-awareness. It even includes the emotional intelligence. Now, obviously, I haven't pasted the books, but if you go and look through Helen Honey's and Robert Keegan's and Bob Anderson's work, they have some great books that go into much more detail. This is just the highlights for you to maybe start being curious about it. Now, with that being said, let's quickly move on and talk about Agile. Well, actually, this is the first time in this workshop we're talking Agile, because you guys probably know what Agile is quite well, don't you? So let me bring it to me. However, there's a definition I like, which is from Liz Atkins. You brought everyone to me. Okay, so Liz Atkins believes that Agile is an emergent response that helps us thrive in an increasingly complex and interchangeable world. And when I heard her say that, I think it was 2017. We're in 2022, and the world is quite complex and changeable, isn't it? And it's quite interconnected. So maybe, you know, she had something there that, you know, we had to respond in an emergent way, and the world has changed. Now, I think when I watch TV, like there's a show called Billions, and all these guys have so much money and there's, you know, ego driven and so on. And this world doesn't exist anymore, I think. It's just interesting how the world has shifted, and for better or worse, who knows what's good or bad. But I would just like to acknowledge how a lot has changed in our lives, in our companies, and in the world at large. And I believe that we will go through this transition period and emerge even better. But it's just my thinking. Hopefully I'm right. Having said that, with this kind of definition of agility, I have another challenge for you. We've talked about the styles of leadership. We've talked about heart, mind, and will. We've talked about creative and reactive. We also talked about these 8 dimensions: reactive, protecting, controlling, achieving, self-awareness, authenticity, systems awareness, and relating and complying. Now, what I will do is I will put you in your breakouts again. And what I would like to ask is you take on your agile glasses, your agile lens. And in this time, think about all these styles of leadership. And again, you will have 4 frames. Now you have the model in front of you. However, what you also have here in the corner, on your top left corner of each frame that corresponds to your room, is 4 icons. 3 of them have a Scrum-like symbol with a shamrock. I call them the Agile growers. And the other 3 have the Agile being superseded by a Jolly Roger. I call them the Agile poisoners. So what I would like you to do in your small rooms, and I will give you a good 10 minutes, is have a discussion. And I would like you to get these 3 growers and poisoners and put them on the circle where you think they belong. So if you think that a particular type of leadership is growing Agile especially, place the grower icon there. If you think that there's a particular aspect of leadership that poisons agility, place the poisoner there. And I know you already know how to work in breakouts. You will be working in the same breakouts. You already know how to move things in Miro. This time, however, you will get 10 minutes. So I'd like to invite you to have fun. See you in 10 minutes. So with everyone gone, Corrado, what do you think is poisoning or growing agility the most?
You mean as a leadership
Tough
style?
question. Yes, using this model.
For example, self-awareness is absolutely flourishing in agile teams. And well,
but what's the most important growing aspect? Self-awareness, isn't it? Or something else? Yeah, tough question, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's a really tough question, so Thomas. You know that I'm working on designing games, okay? And so it's really
I
interesting
know.
to be connected to that. My last game that is called the Agile Mind actually is based on 6 different influencers. I call this.
Hmm.
3 of them are pretty known, that are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Okay, just to mention.
Yeah, I've heard
And
about them.
I consider this as an internal influential because they are, let me say, very connected to your person, you as a person.
Mhm.
There are, however, 3 other influencers that I have identified that I use in my games. The first one is collaboration. Then we have environment. And then guess what? We have leadership. Because
All
actually,
right,
when you
yes.
are creating this, as you call, agile culture, the environment, the leadership, and also the collaboration with the others is an enabler in one direction or in the opposite direction.
Mhm.
So back to your question, what is the most positive influencing of this one? Actually, I really don't know, because all of them are really important, and all of them, I don't think they are negative, for example, because here we are watching room 2, for example, okay, just as an example. And I see a negative in protecting. Is
Mhm.
this really negative? Protecting ourselves, I mean, in the definition that
Well,
you.
if you're a leader that's aloof, that for instance, I don't like emotionally heated situations, Corrado, so I withdraw, right? I'm cynical, or maybe I don't like where my needs aren't met, so I'm very cynical, I'm sarcastic and such. Does it help agility?
Don't know. Actually, don't know, because this is not my common behavior, actually. So.
Well, I've seen people like that, right? And it's interesting to see how they shape the organizational culture. It's like this very cerebral leader, and he's always being very snarky. I don't know if you watched the Great British Show of The Thick of It, and there's a guy there called Malcolm Tucker. He's played by Peter Capaldi, an amazing Glaswegian actor, and he swears a lot, and he's very sarcastic and violent too, I even have to say. um, and I've seen people in this in a lot of organizations maybe not swearing as much, but definitely being arrogant, or being very sarcastic, or being um, all kinds of things. So they're protecting, or maybe withdrawing and being aloof. And I don't think you can be an agile leader in an agile organization, an effective one at that, if you're not able to engage, even with conflict, even with disagreement, right?
That's true, but I'm not sure that this arrogance is related to the protecting, let me say, approach. Maybe is related to a false conviction that I know the answer. So maybe I think that I found the solution. So my sarcasm is because the other cannot see what I can see. That is not
But it's
protecting.
interesting because the very creative side is self-awareness. So you've got or yeah, so basically self-awareness says that, well, if I'm so intelligent and if I'm so idea focused, I will understand that I need to be critical of my ideas. So for instance, it's very surprising, and I've said it at times, I'm quite a mind-focused leader myself. And I said it once to someone that, and I'll say it publicly, I'm skeptical about my skepticism.
Yeah.
So if I'm really passionate about something, like for instance, I think this model is great. I really like this model. I use the leadership circle a lot, and we help a lot of organizations with it. But because I like it so much, the challenge is I may have some cognitive biases associated with it. So that's the problem, right? If you're a very heavy mind type leader, an arrogant response will be, no, 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 the leadership circle is the greatest thing in the world and it will solve all your problems. Now, I don't care about your other model, right? Your games are awful. It's all about the leadership circle.
Yeah.
This is the arrogant way. The self-aware and authentic way is, look, I've seen it works. It's a great model, but you know, all models are wrong. Some are useful. And by the way, just because I like it so much, I'm self-aware that I'm really preaching it. So it can also be applied to the famous Scrum and Kanban debates, or safe and less, or whatnot,
Absolutely.
right? A very protective kind of mind leader will try to protect what they believe in. So if I am the one that has introduced less in the organization, I will bash all, and you can replace it with Scrum, Kanban, Safe, whatever, right? I don't know, it's all dogma. You will really promote this idea. And every time you hear something against it, you will say, no, the other framework is shit. So Safe is awful because we like this, or less is awful because we, or Scrum, Kanban.
Yeah.
Where's the self-awareness? Where's the introspection, right? All models, you know, have their usefulness. There's someone else's response to some situation that they're trying to give to people so they can buy, learn, whatnot. They can have ulterior motives. Most of them just want to make a living. And this is an interesting thing about protecting, right? You're protecting your own identity and your own ideas. We're seeing a lot of people like this, don't we?
Yeah, I got what you are saying.
It's a reflective framework, Corrado, I think, and
Absolutely.
you know this is important. Yeah,
I really love it because I mean the conversation is happening around that. It's not the results that is important, but the conversation that is about it. Absolutely.
absolutely. And the way it works, this thing is broken even further. But I won't show the details to everyone because it can be overwhelming. But when you do the survey, there's like 20 something of smaller areas, the skills and competencies that you have underneath. And it shows you what are your preferences. And then in a coaching conversation, you can actually ask, where do you want to go? What's the effective style of leadership that can help you? But the important thing here, Corrado, is that all three styles can really grow agility, in my personal view, right? So if you're a leader that really, like myself, leads with the mind, or like Matt Hayes, my wonderful business partner, leads with the heart, or a lot of leaders we know lead with the will, you can do it really in a creative and supportive fashion. But you can also do it in a way that will absolutely poison agility, whatever kind of leader you are. A lot of people say that heart type leaders will grow agility, but that's not true. These leaders can avoid conflict. They can be really compliant. They can be yes people, really trying to make everyone happy, and in the process making no one happy. The only thing they care about is being liked. But on the other hand, obviously, they can be really creative. They can be people that, you know, focus on relationships productively. They can be really self-aware and also authentic. And as you can see with these colors on the screen, Corrado, these things are on a spectrum. There are bits that are in between the mind and the heart, or the mind and the will. There isn't a lot of intersection between the will and the heart, because they're sort of opposites a bit, but they can be very positive either way. So that's important too.
Yeah, it's also true that actually there is not, I mean, as a leader, I don't think that I am completely heart or completely will or completely.
No one ever is, right? Yeah.
Okay, so actually there are different shades of all of three in myself.
Absolutely, they are, right? And if you do the full survey, you will actually see a rainbow of all the competencies and skills. And the thing about it is, it doesn't lock you in a box. Having said that, there's something you resonate most with, right? So, you know, when you shown the gesture, you didn't because you were making the photo, there's something that's closest to how you behave. But again, it's not a categorization. It's just a certain behavior that you exhibit at a particular time. And in 20 something seconds, everyone else will be back. So
yeah,
hopefully,
just a quick question,
yes.
okay, before the other joining. Are you going to share the image or the PDF of the Miro?
I'm very happy to share the PDF. So Corrado, I will PDF all of it and I'll send it to you and you can publish it on the meetup page.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Really interesting.
I like perfection. We're all perfectionists here, aren't we?
Yeah, I know. You are
Which
perfect.
is probably one of the. Well,
you are
come
perfect.
on, Corrado. I wish I could be more perfect, and I wish people could see more perfection in themselves. Having said that, welcome everyone. It's great to see you back. I'm hoping that you had a lot of discussion. I can see a lot of smiles on your faces. I'm sure you had some great discussions and you're eager to grow agility inside your organizations. But what I'd like to do is maybe give you a couple of you the floor. So I'd like to do a bit of a group share. It will only take a couple of minutes. We'll finish up in no more than 10 minutes if it's not a problem. So if you'd like to let me know how your discussion went and share what your group has done, can you please use the Zoom feature of reactions and raise your hand in there? And I will see you and I will call your name so you can speak. So is there anyone that would like to share how was it when they're doing their group work?
Yeah, maybe one for each of the groups.
There is no necessity. You don't have to. I think you had a great discussion, but going once, is there anyone that would like to speak in the big room? Oh, Katrina, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself first.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. I'm presenting as well room number 2. And we had a very good discussion as well about each topic. What we did as well is going back to understand or to reflect as well, what does it mean in detail? So what we came up with, that's complying, protecting, and controlling is more blocking us as well in our agile way of working. And that self-awareness, the word I can't properly spell, yeah, you see it, and system awareness. So that's are the ones that bringing us forward as well when focusing on it, and yeah, supporting us in creating an agile environment in our companies.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Katrina. Anyone else wanted to share? Okay, I can see no hands going once. Shadow, I can see you want to speak.
Hi, TK. How are you?
Go ahead. I'm great. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you. So I was
Go
in the
ahead.
same room with Katharina, room 2, and I think we said as well that it looks as if the reactive ones are the ones that are best for Agile, while the creative skills are the ones best for Agile, and the reactive ones are kind of in that way.
That was a quick discussion, I guess. Yes, thank you. And Mega, how about you? You might want to unmute yourself. And
sorry. So I was in a room 1 with a great friends. And we discussed about how protecting and controlling is harmful for the team. Like all the time you have to tell PO that, oh, this is team's job. They are going to do it. Like you don't, practically you don't say don't interfere, but you say this is a team's responsibility. They know how to do it. So that was our main discussion.
oh, thank you. And it must have been a wonderful discussion. You know, the product owner role is quite an interesting one. A single neck to hang, but a controversial role for that matter. And it's not an easy role. So good luck to all the product managers and product owners amongst ourselves. Thank you, everyone, for the great shares. And just a quick thank you from me. So again, I'm TK with Humble Associates. So if you want to get in touch with me after, look at our website, look at the work we do. You can just click on it. We work with people using the Leadership Circle, and it goes much deeper. We've just scratched the surface. So if you want to drop me a line or maybe see what we do, just click the link. And as always, I'm quite a active member of the community. If you find me on LinkedIn, which you probably are connected to me already, you will see that I'm doing a lot more events, and I'm also trying to do my best to be on Corrado's events, but like always. And yeah, sign up to what we're doing, follow me around, and I'll make sure to, let you know what's going on, and share some bits. And the final thing before we go into optional questions is I'd like to ask you for some feedback. So the way I want you to do this is you've got this wonderful lady that is incredibly skilled in expressing a myriad and a myriad of feelings. Well, I can't do that. I'm not a great actor. So on the side, you've got an Australia Open tennis ball, or actually plenty of tennis balls. So I want you to grab one of the tennis balls and put it next to the lady that represents how you're feeling right now. These tennis balls can also be called lemons, but since there's a tournament going on right now, let's call them tennis balls. So I'll give you like 1 minute for that. So go ahead. I know you can grab them and move them. Let me know how you feel about the workshop.
No, I cannot grab it.
Oh, really? You should be able to. If you can't grab one, try another one.
Okay. No. Seriously, I cannot grab it.
Really? So which one would you like to move it to? Can you describe the feeling, and I'll move it for you?
Yeah. I'm happy and I'm thankful to you. I like the session.
Okay, so I can see the happy one. Oh, this is a pretty happy face. Oh, no, she's more happy here, so I'll put it here. All right, lovely stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, thank you. Well, the time is up, so I would like to thank everyone for their wonderful attention and great conversations. I'd like to thank Corrado for hosting me, and the official part is over. And if you want to stay behind for questions, I'll hang around for a moment to answer any questions you might have. But if you feel like you'd like to leave, go ahead. I know Corrado will probably also publish the recording. So thank you, everyone that would like to leave on time.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to
Thank
stay and make some questions, so don't leave it, because I'm pretty sure that TK will be happy to give some answers.
I'm more than happy to give some answers. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the raise your hand feature. So if anyone has a question, you have two options. Either raise your hand and use your wonderful voice to ask a question, or you can put the question in the chat. All right, Madhav, how about you?
Thank you, and thank you for hosting this. It's been a wonderful experience, and the room 2 has been really good laugh. My question is, what sort of leadership is one part of the factor in Agile which needs transformation or work to make it more agile? What are the other parts of it, and what are the tools and techniques towards those?
It's quite a wide question.
You can answer either part, any part of within that.
No. I think actually I'll spoil it a bit, because I'm leading a workshop on the 25th that answers this question entirely. But essentially, the way we do it is, one, it's understanding. So you have to have some foundational understanding to be able to participate in the Agile way of work. A lot of people misunderstand it. So I think knowledge and understanding is a key part. The second step is leadership, but we've talked about leadership. But also the other second step is being able to have reasonable relationships within your organization. So understanding leadership, relationships, and the fourth step is change. So iterative change that's inspecting and adapting. And I think these components, and this change is also maybe the fifth step would be, or should be, the step of feedback loops, all throughout. So this is what I see again: understanding, leadership, relationships, iterative change, and feedback loops. I think these would be the main components, and I'll be talking about it some more on the Kickstart Agility in 22, which is the workshop I'm leading on the 25th. So find me on LinkedIn and click join there.
Cool, thank you very much. I'll put my hand down now.
TK, what do you
Lovely.
mean by
Mega.
understanding? The first step.
Oh, what I mean by understanding, yes. So there is a lot of organizations and people that subscribe to what I would call dogmatic version of Agile, which is they want Agile for the sake of Agile. Because it's such a popular thing. It's like, oh, you know, I don't want to equate it to anything that it isn't, but it's just a fashion too. Now, the problem is, because people take it on face value, just knowing the word, and it's such a complex term, without the understanding of what it is, what can happen is they may not see the opportunities in agility, and they may not see what's needed to properly embrace it. So again, building foundational understanding, I believe, is necessary for successfully embracing agility. So just learn and understand what it is before you try doing it. It's like driving a car, right? If you don't know how to drive a car, don't sit in and try driving. It's like, have some understanding and have some humility to the difficult aspect of cultural change. So we're trying to help people build an understanding before they crash. As a lot of people do. Mega, what about you? You have a question, I think.
Yeah, so I had a question. Where I can find games for a team, like for a remote team?
Oh, that's simple. You ask Corrado. He's preparing a lot of them.
Yeah, we had this conversation when you were in the breakout rooms. Actually, I'm a game designer. As an agile coach, I pretend to design agile games. So if you want.
So you touch base with Corrado afterwards, but there's some other sources. Like if you want to go really simple, there's the liberating structures. So it's a famous set of facilitation techniques that might be quite helpful. And there's also a vibrant community. There's plenty of meetups globally. There's meetups in London when they meet in person. And the tools that I was using were either from a body of knowledge called Training from the Back of the Room, which is a special type of learning. So I didn't do a lot of lecturing. You discovered a lot for yourself. And if you use Miro, there's also a thing called the Miroverse. So Miro Universe, Miroverse, and they give you some example games, and you can look through people's published boards, which is quite cool. So that's my recommendation for you.
Miro Universe, and what else?
Miroverse. I'll find it for you and put it on the chat.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
Yeah, just to add another couple of references, there is a community that is called Play 14, and TK is also a member of them. True. Actually, this is a community of game designers and game players. I'm talking about serious games, okay, in general.
Okay.
And if you want, probably the most known source on the web is tastycupcakes.com.
Tasty Cupcakes, yes.
That is a website that has hundreds of agile, not only agile, but hundreds of serious game, leadership games, collaboration games.
Oh man, haven't been there in a while. I'm putting it in the chat. Yes, thank you so much. Of course,
thank you,
and they're obviously still updating.
I'm going to take pictures. I don't lose it.
There's if it's not only games, but if you're looking to run a retrospective, there is another one.
Yeah, not only like a game, like a kid game. This is like a
game. But if you're looking to do activities, look here. It's called a RetroMat, and it helps you design a retrospective following the 5 steps of retrospective from Esha Debbie or Diane Larson. Oh man, I can't remember which lady wrote this wonderful book. But there's also some great activities here.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that.
And you can get in touch with me and on Corrado, and we'll definitely be happy to help you.
Sure. I will.
Right. Any more questions from anyone?
Good. Okay. I I want to say, not ask, but I want to say thank you very much, Tomasz, for sharing this session. I'm sure that we all had a lot of fun. So not only learning, but just something to think about it. So I was pretty sure that this was a great session. So I'm really happy to have organized this. I really love it. So keep in touch. In the chat, you can find the references to the YouTube channel where you will be able to find this recording. Give me some days, okay? Normally I'm not really speed up to make this on YouTube. And you can follow also on LinkedIn together with TK that has its own space on LinkedIn. And thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for staying here till the end. Okay. So have a great, I would say, evening. I don't know, but probably if you are in Florida, it's afternoon or something like that. So,
Florida. Yes. Don't tease me. And all the best for people in Florida. It's a wonderful place to be. I'd love to visit at some point.
You are on mute, Miguel.
Manga is now in Florida.
If I can flip my laptop and if you can see the view, you say, okay, we are coming there, okay? It's nice beach, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Here we have 7 degrees, raining all day long. Thank you very much for sharing this. Really appreciate it.
Yes. It's so with that, I'll leave you to it and have a great afternoon, day, or rest of the week. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
And Corrado, I'm sending you a smile on LinkedIn.